Hello, my name is Helen Jennings. I am a Stampin' Up demonstrator based here in the UK, and this morning I thought I would come on and share with you a quick card project. This is the first of sort of the more impromptu Facebook YouTube videos I've done. I upload my Facebook Live videos to my channel. You'll be able to find all those there. But this one is an exclusive for YouTube video, and I'm hoping to do a few more of these. And this is a project that is still in my head, and I'm going to call this little series, I think, What Shall We Make? So I have some card and bits and pieces in front of me, a vague idea of where we're going to go, but it is going to develop as we go along, and I thought it would be interesting to share that sort of creative process with you rather than here's what I've made and here's how I made it. So the inspiration for this project came from a class that I went along to this week that wasn't a Stampin' Up class, so it wasn't using Stampin' Up products, but it was creating a card, and I have seen this style of card before, and we used different papers and different cards and things, and I thought it would be really nice to recreate one of those cards using Stampin' Up's beautiful products. So I have got some Pretty Peacock cardstock here. I have got some paper from the Brightly Gleaming suite. I've got the Christmas Gleaming stamp set and some of the punches and things scattered around, and we will see what we want to add into it. But to start with, we're going to form our basic card front. So in order to do that, I'm going to move some of these little bits out of the way because I want to bring in my trimmer, because I want to be able to find the center point of this piece. So this is a piece of A5 Pretty Peacock card. So I've taken a piece of A4 card and I've cut it at 14.9 centimeters to give me half of a sheet of A5, and now I'm spinning it round. So this is the side of the cardstock that measures 21 centimeters. So I am going to score it, put a little nick, not really score it, just put a little nick. And I don't know whether you'll even be able to pick that up. Can you see it just there? Just so that it marks that center point for me, because what I want to do is I want to line that little center, and it's not so easy to do without getting my head in the way. In fact, let's just give that a bit of a fold just to make that stand out a little bit more. So just there, and then the other end, on the diagonal. So what I want to do is cut on a diagonal from that center point at the top, which is just there, down to this bottom corner just here. So let's do that, and then we're going to do exactly the same. So from that top center point down to this bottom corner, rest that in there and cut that down. So now this piece of card here is going to still measure 21 centimeters. So I want to score down the center, so it will be from 10.5 centimeters at the top to this point. Score that down the center, and we will fold along that score line. So here we have a sort of triangular piece of card like this, and then we have two right angle triangles like this. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to create some pretty paper to go on the top. So I have actually trimmed this piece of paper so that it is a centimetre shorter on each side. So this piece of paper actually measures 20 centimetres by 13.9. So again, we want to mark the centre point, which is 10 centimetres this time at the top there. And we're going to line that centre point up in the groove of our trimmer. Check that we are there. might be easier just to put a little pencil mark possibly that you would then be able to see, but, and then rub it out afterwards. So from that centre point down to this bottom corner, we're going to cut that off, and the same with this side. And then this piece here, this centre piece, let's rest that up against the top, get our centre point in the groove, and we're going to cut those. Now in theory, we should have, these should all be about the same size. Yes, they are. So that's plan one goes to, that's stage one goes to plan, and you've got two facing one way and two facing the other. And what we'll need to do with our piece of card is that we're then actually going to stick those in place. Those will come on this back panel here, and one each on these side panels. Now I have to say the instructions that I saw the other day were very complicated, with very complicated instructions. That was much simpler. So this is what our panels are going to look like when we've stuck our paper on. But what I'm going to do before I do that is I'm going to take a ruler and a pencil, and I'm going to mark from, so on our triangle, as you've got your flat base across there and your score line going up the middle, I'm going to measure 7 centimetres at the side that way, and 7 centimetres at the sides that way. And I actually need to make a little slit that's about 2 centimetres long. Can't even see where I've made my measurements. Let's try that again. Let's make it slightly bigger. There we go. We can always rub it out. That one is a bit more visible. So we've got our two little marks coming up the side here at 7 centimetres, and we need to, if we line that up on our grid paper so it's nice and flat, we need actually to mark from our 7 centimetre, we need to cut a slit that's 2 centimetres down, that's running parallel with our centre fold. So from there, 2 centimetres down. It won't matter if it's slightly out. So let's take our snips, and let's snip 2 centimetres down on this side and 2 centimetres down on this side. Now we should have perhaps stuck our paper on first and then we'd have snipped that as well, but it was easier to play with that. So can you see that? So measure 7 centimetres up, and then a 2 centimetre slit down. 7 centimetres up, 2 centimetre slit down. Let's stick on our papers. Now I put a nice new refill in my snail this morning, so I know that that is good to go. Let's pop that on there. And this one, on here. I'm just going to, where I've done those slits, make sure that I cut down through that paper as well. There we go. So we have our 2 slits there and our paper on the back, and then we'll stick our paper onto these bits. One and 2. So this piece will form the back of our card, and then these pieces here are going to lay across our card like this. So one coming this way and one coming that way, so that they will eventually sit like that. So when you've got them, that you're happy with them like that, what we want to be able to do is adhere them at the back. So one of the easiest ways to do is to get a dimensional. Now let me see, have I got a large dimensional there? Let's get a couple of dimensionals. Let's get it so that we've got it sitting how we want, and this can be a little bit fiddly, so I am going to stand it upright. So you need both sides sitting in the slot. So this bit folded inwards, and these bits folded at the back. And the more I fight with one, the more I'm actually going to sit down and come down to its level. I'm trying to look over the top of it. So this actually doesn't need to be as complicated as I'm making it look, really. So that one in there and in there. This one. That's it. This one's sitting in there and in there. So around about like that. So you don't want them at too deep an angle. You just sort of want your two triangles resting slightly on each other. And then let's pop a dimensional under there. Once we've got one stuck down, it will be much easier to fiddle with. Okay, so we've got one stuck down now. So having stuck that down, I can now take this off and put another one under there. So you've got your front piece like this that's stuck in place. You've got this bit now, and it will be much easier just to slot that in. So it's a little bit like an easily sort of card in that you've got that 3-dimensional shape. You've got like a 3-dimensional star. There we are. Now we've got it sitting in place. It's looking much more beautiful. So there we go. That's what our card is going to look like. Let me just reach for a couple of my card stands, and we'll tuck one under each side there, so that will sit it like that rather beautifully, won't it? So there we are. That gives you a good picture of this star-shaped card. So you've got your triangular back panel folded in half, and then these two right-angled triangles with their right angles sitting at the bottom, and the sides and so the bottom point and this halfway almost up this side sort of resting in those slits that we've made in that back card. So now we just need to have a bit of something on this front here. Now this is where we're going to start playing to see what sort of a bit of something we think might work. Now these are the copper stars from that also go with that gleaming. So these are the brightly gleaming foil embellishments. So those are rather pretty. We could have a gold star in the middle of there. Do have some of these. And this is really where we're going to start playing now, because we're going to decide what it is that we want on here as our embellishments. Could have another one of those coming down this way possibly. We could do something with, we could have a bauble on the front using the brightly gleaming stamp set, but I quite like the idea of those stars because it is carrying on the idea of the star background, sort of the star-shaped card. We also have these little tiny copper stars here that we might be able to add in. Need to be able to put some sort of greeting on there, so I might actually stretch over and dig out. That's right, I've got my microphone, but I have a very long wire on it, so as long as I can untease it and it's not too tangled, we should be able to have a look, apologies, at our other. So something like the So Many Stars set, we might be able to pick something out of there that would work really well with that set to create a greeting of some sort. Sorry for pulling on you, I'm stretching over to see if I can reach or find. The Stars dies, and some very vanilla cardstock. So let's have a little look at let's die cut a small stitched star. I'll just take our card to one side and bring in the big shot. It's just down here. The big shot and I had a bit of a falling out earlier. It fell off the side onto my foot. Needless to say, it hurt. So let's so I did say a few choice things like, oh dear, what a silly big shot you are for falling on my foot. Right, so let's die cut that little stitch stars. These stitch stars are just beautiful. There it is. And let's take our stitched star and let us see if one of these, in this set here, there's quite a nice little, you've got joy and you've got love and you've got peace. Love would certainly fit on there. I think that's the one that we'll go for. So let's add a little bit of love to our star. So I think let's take our Versamark and we'll ink up our love. Somewhere here I've got my foam mat. We'll stamp some love in the middle of that star. And then here I've got some of our copper embossing powder to go with the copper elements in the paper and the copper star. Okay, let's take our heat gun. I'll just heat it up for a second so it's good and hot. That's looking as if that has all melted beautifully. Yep. So we've got some copper love going on in there. So let's bring back in our card and see how we're doing, how we feel it is building. And you'll notice I've not stuck any of these elements on yet because we may change our mind. Let's bring in my 2 stands and pop that in the middle. And then slot our stars in there. Okay, so we had our copper star on the top. Stay. With a couple of swirly leafy flourishes coming out each side. So now we've got some love. With a copper with our little star. What I might do is actually, let's see how this goes. I'm going to grab the next star up, which is that one, and I'm going to cut that out of Pretty Peacock. I'll just do that back here rather than move everything again. So let's cut a Pretty Peacock star and see if that just helps that pop in the middle there. And this is what making your cards is all about. It's about sort of building, adding things, trying things, taking things out. So do we need a bit of a pop of Pretty Peacock in there as well? Obviously that's not stuck on straight. We've not stuck it on yet, so it's not it's not lined up correctly, but that just gives us a little bit of an idea of what that's starting to look like. I quite like the bit of blue in there as well. So I think I will go ahead and stick those together. So let's take our love and pop that onto that Pretty Peacock stitched star, and then I think we'll take dimensional on the back here, or on the front of this star just here we'll put a dimensional, and then we will lift that up like that, and then with our little swirly leaves, trying to find the glue dots. Now we need to put the glue dot on the copper side because we're going to actually stick that so that it's swirling out underneath that side. And we'll do the same with the other one. So that is swirling out this side. They will sit on the front of our card just there. And I think we'll perhaps put another dimensional on the back of this star to lift that up here. So if we have our stars coming down towards those points just there, that will sit fairly centrally on our card. Let's just double check that we've got that about right. It's perhaps a little bit on the skew. Let's just swing it round a little bit. Just like that. So one of the other things that I might do, what is really useful to stop this from sliding, is to have something on these sections just here. So where are those little stars? Here they are. Let's put one on this edge just there, and that just stops that sliding that side. And we'll put one on this edge just here, just to stop that sliding that side. And obviously when it's actually upright, that makes much more difference than when it's lying like this. That's looking rather lovely, but I am wondering, I think that might be a little bit too much to have some of that ribbon. We have got, with these sheets of the accents, there are some smaller stars in here. I just wonder if that's a bit too coppery, whether actually we would be better off going for some smaller pretty peacock stars. Let's try that. Let's cut out a few smaller pretty peacock stars and see how they go. All trial and error, all playing as you go along. So whenever you see people have, are doing videos or whatever posts about cards, they will often have gone through this whole process of what do we need to put on there to make that stand out. Let's have a little small dimensional, mini dimensional on the back of there. That can come down there. That's better because it sort of stands out on that background. We'll have another one at least to come the other side. Let's put a mini dimensional on the back of that. Starting to look good. Now the other thing that I'm wondering, I'm going to cut a piece of pretty peacock cardstock, slip that up there a little bit. Now in this, in the Christmas gleaming set, there is this, oh, those stamps weren't cleaned very well when they were put away, were they? There is a Merry Christmas. That wasn't me, I hasten to add. There is a Merry Christmas stamp like this, and I think again we will ink it up with Versamark, and oh dear, oh dear, doesn't want to stick to the block. Stay. Let's stamp that on here. And let's have a look. I'm looking at that. I'm wondering if that's going to be sticky enough. I think that it's looking as if that Versamark ink pad needs re-inking. Right, so heat gun. And with this stamp set, it's the sort of negative that gives you the greeting, and roundabout is what's embossed. So you've got that Merry Christmas peeking out from in the middle of that embossed area. So I'm going to trim this so that it's coming, gives us a bit of pretty peacock border. Then we need to decide where it would look good. So I've almost wanted, I don't know whether it would work up there really. It's obviously not going to bend very easily. Could possibly cut it in half, but you're not going to get the border. I'd have had to have masked that. Could have a Merry Christmas coming down here, but then we'll want something to counterbalance it on the other side. So it may be that we don't go for this at all. No, it definitely doesn't want to be there. I'm going to put that to one side and have a think about that one. So does it need anything else at the top there? Does it need a couple more stars? Just looking for the tiniest star. Now I know they are very tiny, the tiniest stars. Are they going to be too tiny? Let's cut one out and have a look. Where's our little pick it up tool? So the tiny stars are very, very tiny. In fact, so tiny that I've just dropped that and can't even see it. Yeah, those are too tiny. The other thing we could look for is we have some faceted gems. Or we have some sort of pretty peacock sparklies from the Noble Peacock suite. They might work quite well. Let's perhaps add a couple of those to this little love in the middle. Actually, let's add that one up there. And I've curled that over a bit. Let's just put a little dimensional just in the centre. So that it curls round on that star. And I think we're going to take a couple more of these little copper stars, and I'm going to put one each in the middle there. And I think that is looking rather glitzy and glamorousy. So we have lots of sparkle on there. We've got the sparkly in the papers that are just beautiful. We've got our shimmery sort of foliage just here. We've got the copper at the back in the star. We've got the copper in the embossing here and here. We've got a few little dimensionals. We've got some stars here and these ones that will help to keep it standing up. So a really beautiful 3D card, but actually one that you can still get into an envelope to send fairly flat through the post. It would need to be a bigger envelope, but you would be able to send that through the post with just some little instructions to slot it through the slots and stand it up on the shelf. And obviously you'd need to put a panel on the back somewhere that you would do your writing on, or you could gift it to somebody, perhaps have a little, put it into a little box to gift it to somebody, make a little envelope box for it to go into. So there we are. What shall we make? We started off with some paper and some card, and we've added in embellishments and little bits and pieces as we've gone along to create our beautiful card. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and keep watching for some more what shall we make type videos.